Now, I really liked what I saw from both Connor and Cole Mirasola. I mean, as we should. They both won US Open titles, but are they ready to take that next step that Penn State needs them to?
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to Penn State wrestling, and as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day, the #1 Penn State sports podcast out there. I am Zach Sako, your host of the show. Today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox, no console needed. Head to amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. Friendly reminder, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Be a part of the conversation as we are talking takeaways now from the U20 US Open. Penn State, plenty of Penn State affiliated wrestlers, whether they are actively in the program or committed to Penn State for the future. So the future was on display. The present was on display. Who was the most impressive? Could PJ Duke actually start next season? Before we get to any of that, I want to talk about the Mirasola twins, Connor and Cole, respectively, because it was impressive. I liked what I saw from Connor and Cole, respectively, for different reasons, of course, because Connor is still in his comfort zone because he never changed weight classes, but Cole bumped up to heavyweight and has been wrestling at 125 kilos, but is starting to continue to look better, make that progress, and not just be kind of an afterthought at heavyweight going into the next NCAA season. I want to talk about Connor first because Connor just looked really good with his offense. I feel like Connor's a wrestler that is best on his feet, but his offense looks phenomenal. He was able to get any attack that he wanted to in this tournament, and against comparable competition too. He was facing other collegiate wrestlers, because Cole Mirasola didn't exactly get to go up against every single, somebody that was comparable in terms of development, in terms of experience. He wrestled Drayshawn Ross, who's still in high school, Michael Mako, who is still in high school. But Connor Mirasola in particular, wrestling the likes of a Sonny Sasso, who is enrolled at Virginia Tech and is on the same timeline. Same thing with a Cody Merrill, who is actually enrolled at Oklahoma State. So they're all on similar timelines, and he was able to defeat wrestlers like them. So I think that's what is something to take away from this tournament for Connor, is that he wasn't just wrestling a bunch of high school studs, which, yeah, he should be ahead of them because he's developmentally ahead of them, right? But that wasn't the case. He was facing wrestlers that are on a similar timeline right now. The question is, though, is this going to be able to continue to translate to folk style? Because Connor isn't really doubted for his freestyle abilities. He took down Aaron Brooks at the Olympic team trials. So it's always been there that he's going to be a force in the freestyle circuit. Like I said, just being able to get any offensive shot that he wanted. When I watched that one specifically in the championship against Cody Merrill, and Cody Merrill is another prospect that is probably going to be a household name at 197 for Oklahoma State, if I'm being honest. But whatever attack Connor wanted, he was able to get to it. I mean, and the same thing, frankly, with Sonny Sasso. He teched Sonny Sasso in the semifinals to get to that point. I've been discussing it that Connor Mirasola is a realistic option at 197 next season, which is going to sound crazy for a lot of people. And I can understand that because Josh Barr just finished as an NCAA runner-up at 97. I'm saying that there is a chance. It is on the table. You don't just recruit the top 10, top 15 conservatively, pound for pound recruits in the nation in Connor and Cole Mirasola and expect them just to ride the bench or not develop the right way. Connor does look better. He looks quicker. He looks sharper. Like I said, he gets to any offensive attack that he really wants to, and he wasn't beating up on high school talent here in this tournament. He was going up against comparable competition. These are guys that Connor is going to most likely face during his career as it continues to progress. So it's good that he wins decisively against a Cody Merrill. It's good that he dominates against the likes of a Sonny Sasso in this case. Connor allows Penn State that flexibility if he is ready going into the folk style season. This is not the same wrestler that lost by major decision to Josh Barr. Okay, Josh Barr had that year ahead of him in the Penn State room, in the wrestling room, was able to, like I said, go through that developmental period, train alongside the best of the best, and now Connor has had that. When I look at the 197-pound weight class, it's wide open going into next season, which is a case for Barr that he should stay there, and that would make a ton of sense. But Barr is not a natural 197-pounder. He's a natural 184-pounder. I understand that Rocco Welsh was brought in. My point is that it's not a guarantee that Josh Barr wrestles at 97 and that Rocco Welsh wrestles at 184. There is potential for Barr to cut down and Connor Mirasola step in alongside his twin brother at 97 and heavyweight, respectively. It's on the table. It's an option. It can happen. I think it will happen. I do. Well, we're only into the early part of the offseason, but it's good to see Connor continue to improve. Same thing with Cole, but for different reasons. Cole Mirasola, the biggest knock on him right now is that he's always going to be at a disadvantage because of his size. He's never going to be a full heavyweight, but also he's been wrestling around 210, 215, 220 for his high school career, and then jumps up and bulks up to heavyweight like this. So he's never going to have a taller build or anything like that. He's always going to be giving up weight. So the size disadvantage is there. Is it going to be an issue? Maybe against elite caliber opponents, but what I've seen from Cole Mirasola to maybe offset that is A, the speed, but B, he's also putting on the heavyweight strength. He's added the weight. It looks good. It looks natural. And he's been able to adjust accordingly. So he's getting faster while putting on the weight, but most importantly, he's getting stronger. The difference here, though, okay, with Connor going up against Merrill and Sasso, the difference is here with Cole is that he should defeat a Drayshawn Ross, honestly, in my opinion. Ross is still in high school. Michael Mako's still in high school. There is that separation. So I'm not going to overreact and say that, yes, Cole Mirasola is ready to go. He's a top 4 heavyweight in next year's class, but for next season, but there is so much turnover at heavyweight that it just opens up a door for Cole Mirasola to be competitive right away. There's a reason Penn State has not brought in another heavyweight. There's a reason they're not entertaining that. It's because they believe in Cole as a starter at the heavyweight spot for next season. May I remind everybody that Greg Kirkfleet went through this similar phase, that he was a 197-pounder. Penn State reached out to him and said, hey, we have an opportunity for you as a heavyweight, and it ended up that way where he went into the transfer portal. They reached out to him, said, this is what our plan would be for you. And it was that long-term plan that ultimately paid off for Kirkfleet in a similar timeline that Cole Mirasola is now going to be following. So Mirasola, Cole that is, adding the appropriate weight, getting faster, getting stronger, really the strength of it. Can we talk about, for anybody that might have missed it, Cole versus Michael Mako? Because now, granted, I look at that one and I say, you gave up 3 takedowns to Mako, but it was the way that Cole was able to have more in the gas tank, more stamina down the stretch, and just bully Mako out of the circle. In the final 15 seconds, had 2 force outs, forced Mako to have a flee point given up by running away, and lost a takedown and lost a challenge, I should say, and ended up winning that one 9-6. So yeah, defensive issues maybe come into question there. I mean, Michael Mako is a top prospect for 2026. Same thing with Drayshawn Ross, but he won fairly decisively. It says 7-5 for the final score, but Cole was leading 5-0 for a majority of the match before Ross was able to get a 4-point move. So just got to clean some things up on defense. But I think for somebody that is not necessarily a natural heavyweight, that is going to have that size disadvantage, and he's already put on as much strength as he has, I think Cole can be an All-America contender at heavyweight finals for me, or being in the semifinals maybe is a little bit of a stretch, because I need to see him continue to develop. These are matches against wrestlers that he should win against. Ross and Mako, accordingly, are still in high school, and other competition as well is just not up to his standard. But when he faces a Nick Feldman or a Ben Keeter, that's going to be the telling test. But Stevenson's gone, Kirkfleet's gone. Obviously, he's the Penn State wrestler, but this heavyweight class clears out. Wyatt Hendrickson, Owen Treffin, Colton Schultz, Josh Heinzelman. Just about everybody is out of this class, so anybody can take over at this point in time, which means that I think Cole Mirasola certainly deserves a fighting chance in this case. So speaking of lineup changes, lineup differences, PJ Duke was also in this U20 tournament. I want to talk about Marcus Blaze in this conversation as well, because could Duke push for a spot in the starting lineup? Because that's the intention for Marcus Blaze. Well, we'll talk about both of them coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you will get $250 in bonus bets. That's right, $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. And you will love using FanDuel, because FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into some player props. I mean player props. That's three-pointers, steals, assists, rebounds, points scored, you name it. FanDuel has so many ways for you to bet on your favorite players and your favorite player props. Plus, even after the game tips off, so say you missed the start of game time, you can even combine your live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That is $250 in bonus bets over at FanDuel.com. Still later on in the show, William Henckle stood out quite a bit. So did Sam Herring and Jaden James in the class of 2026. So we are going to talk about not only the present Penn State wrestlers, but the future of Penn State wrestling too. The not too distant future, as PJ Duke and Marcus Blaze are going to be true freshmen within the program. And the question that I think is worth asking here, could PJ Duke actually start next season in the Penn State lineup? It sounds crazy. It is crazy. It is crazy to think that a true freshman with Zach, where would he go? 157 has Tyler Kasak. 165 is Mitchell Messenbrink. PJ Duke can't bulk all the way up to 174, and he don't even think about having him challenge Levi Haynes. If I had to pick the weight class that PJ Duke would try to make a push for right out of the gate, because I don't know that anybody's starting spot is secure outside of Mitchell Messenbrink, right? Mitchell seems pretty secure at 165. If he's defeating David Carr, if he's teching David Carr, nobody's challenging his spot at the collegiate level. But I look at 157. And if that was the path, I am not making a declaration or a prediction right now, but if it were to happen, how would it happen? It would be to try to chase down Tyler Kasak. 70 kilos is the equivalent of, give or take, 153 pounds. So PJ Duke is right there where it's not a weight cut. It actually is a good spot for him if he were going to try to make weight. So 157 for this point in time. And I don't think PJ Duke's going to stay at or around 157 for a long time. He's probably eventually going to bulk up to 165, 174. Just when I watch PJ Duke, I don't know how you keep him out of this Penn State lineup for very long. He and Marcus Blaze were 1A and 1B in this class of 2025 for the pound for pound overall recruits for a reason. And that's why I want to bring up Marcus Blaze as well and Masanosuke Ono, because all three of them, I think, true freshmen, are going to try to get a spot in the starting lineup. I don't think PJ Duke is coming in with the intention of just to ride the bench. He very well is most likely going to be a backup here, but I don't think it's impossible. It's outlandish to completely say that, no, there's not a chance that he can't push Tyler Kasak for that spot. as insane as it might sound, somebody who just finished with back-to-back third-place finishes, it does not mean that PJ Duke isn't going to challenge him. So that would be the path for Duke to get into the starting lineup, would be to unseat K-Sack, upset him, because 165, 174 are off the table. But Duke just looks like a completely different wrestler out there, way ahead. I think it's fair for him to, if he wanted to compete at the senior level, like a Jax Forrest and a Marcus Blaze, I think that's more suited for him, probably because those weight classes are really crowded there. So that makes it all the more impressive of what Jax Forrest did and how close Marcus Blaze got. But PJ Duke just looks so much further ahead than the U20 competition. That's why Melvin Miller giving PJ Duke everything he could handle. Duke had to earn it. Duke showed a clear distance between another top commit over at Oklahoma State, Landon Robidoux. That was all PJ Duke. And then Melvin Miller in the class of 2027 just gives Duke a fight. It goes down to the wire, and Duke really has to fend him off at the end. So Miller's somebody to know for the class of 2027. Probably ends up at Iowa since Bo Bassett's his brother. So I don't think Penn State is bringing in Melvin Miller. He's probably going to be an Iowa Hawkeye. But just know, put him on your radar that he's going to be another future face in college wrestling, but most likely for Iowa here. PJ Duke is that talented. I just don't know how long you can keep him out of Penn State's lineup, because he's only going to get better, faster, stronger in this case. But that's where he would go at 157 at this point in time. You could redshirt him. That very well is most likely going to happen, because it's not like K-Sack struggling to get on the podium is a question mark in the lineup. He was, even though he didn't finish number one, even though he didn't take gold at NCAAs, he was still a favorite. He's still a title contender at 57. So like I said, my goal here isn't to make a declaration, make a prediction, and say that, yes, PJ Duke is coming into Penn State's mat room and is going to take that spot away from Tyler K-Sack. I'm just saying that he's going to give Tyler K-Sack a challenge there, and K-Sack better be ready for it, because I do look at Duke as more than just an All-American, as a true freshman. That's somebody that could end up in the semifinals. I don't think there's that much separation between K-Sack and Duke to this point in time. Blaze, Marcus Blaze, that's why he and Duke are 1A and 1B when it comes to these recruiting rankings. Marcus Blaze is going to start next season. I can guarantee that. If there was more of an opening for PJ Duke, I would like to see Duke in Penn State's lineup as a true freshman if there was more of a clear path. For Blaze, there is. Whether it's challenging Braden Davis at 133 or it's at 141 where there's a wide open path because Bo Bartlett's no longer there, Blaze is getting into the lineup. He was wrestling at the senior level. We talk about U20 takeaways. Okay, PJ Duke's better than this level of competition. So are the Mirasola twins. And frankly, so are those class of 2026 commits that aren't even finished with high school yet or getting ready to be finished with high school. Marcus Blaze wrestled at the senior level. Like I said, kudos to Jax Forrest, and very well has potential to be a four-timer for Oklahoma State. Marcus Blaze was a couple of points. I know he got pinned at the end against Seth Gross, and then Forrest absolutely annihilated Seth Gross in that championship. So we'll see, if Blaze and Forrest happen to ever meet. It's not going to be this time around because Forrest is already into Final X against Vito Arujau. Like I said, that's Forrest probably had the best weekend out of anybody, just for, himself personally, David Taylor, Oklahoma State, etc. But Blaze has that kind of potential too. Just didn't wrestle the best match against Gross, but it was close. He didn't get blown out in that match. It was 5-3. The difference was a couple of points. And then ultimately Gross gets the pin at the end. He's defeated Seth Gross before when he was younger, inexperienced, a little more inexperienced, I should say. He's defeated Dayton Fix in the past. Blaze can come in, start right away as a true freshman, and potentially be a four-time NCAA champion. I know who's in those 133 and 141 pound weight classes. But Blaze, already up at the senior level, was the number one overall seed. I understand that he did not win, but I'm not going to let one close match, by the way, define what Blaze can do in college. I'm not guaranteeing that he's a four-time NCAA champion. That's one of the most difficult things to do. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that he has the talent, he has the potential, and the path to do it. So Blaze is also in this conversation. Even though he didn't wrestle in the U20 tournament, he's still the up-and-coming present, and then the future of what this Penn State wrestling lineup is going to be. This is the next, right here, we saw a glimpse into the future of what the next 2, 3, 4 years of Penn State wrestling is going to look like between the Mirasola twins, between PJ Duke and Marcus Blaze as well. So we'll see what Blaze can do this season. I just know that he's going to be in this starting lineup one way or another. He is that talented, and there is a more defined path for him, a more defined role, unlike PJ Duke. But these guys in the class of 2025 shouldn't get all the recognition. William Henckle, I want to say quietly, oddly enough, quietly continues to prove that he's also a premier prospect, but I think does get somehow left out of this conversation. Had a great weekend out in Las Vegas. Talk about his performance, plus further out in the class of 2026. How did Sam Herring and Jaden James do? That's coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. This episode is also brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Gametime, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Gametime makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as it gets closer to tip-off, and their last-minute ticket deals can save you up to 60%. Now, here's why you'll enjoy using Gametime. You have the last-minute deals. As I've already mentioned, you can save up to 60% off of buying last-minute tickets for not only sporting events, but concerts, comedy, theater, you name it. And all-in pricing. All-in pricing means no surprise fees at checkout. So what you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account. Redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That is code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. If I'm generally speaking for the U20 tournament, the wrestler that impressed me the most was William Henckle. PJ Duke, Connor and Cole Mirasola. It's because they met expectations. And I expected Henckle to win a 79 kilo title as well. And like I said, remember, everybody's already booked into their best of 3 at the World Team Trials there. So they're sitting and waiting in that respective finals to ultimately clinch the world spot, but they get a head start. William Henckle in his 79 kilo title went up against Brock Mantanona. That name probably sounds familiar, especially to the wrestling diehards probably know who he is. If that sounds familiar to you, it's because he is the younger brother of Bo Mantanona, who was the starter at 165 for Michigan this season. Brock took a redshirt year, is probably going to be the 157-pound starter next season for Michigan, meaning that he's already in the collegiate scene, meaning that he's had that year of development ahead of Henckle, and Henckle wins decisively 12-8. Back and forth scoring. Henckle just showed that his offensive game is college ready. So he adds to Penn State's room where this is somebody that's going to wrestle around 174, 184. I got to imagine that when Levi Haynes is finished, William Henckle is going to be somebody that contends at 174. Remember, Asher Cunningham's coming in as well. This is just all around a 2025 class that is just loaded with elite talent. But Henckle is definitely in a situation where it best suits him to redshirt and then get ready for when Levi Haynes graduates after this season to take over at 174 pounds, or at least will be one of those contenders. Like I said, He is not the only one. Asher Cunningham's there. Is that something that Joe Seeley explores? Because I still think Joe Seeley had a good weekend as well. Top class of 2024 commit. He ended up going through the redshirt season. He wrestled a little bit. I do want to remind everybody that he was injured temporarily, had a minor procedure that we don't know the extent of. We just know that Cale Sanderson confirmed that he had a minor procedure, but was able to come back and wrestle in the middle of the year. Honestly, should have had a collegiate win. Refs overturned it, whatever. Joe Seeley's aggressive. You can tell that he trains with Mitchell Messenbrink on a day-to-day basis because Seeley has a similar pace. I'm not going to go ahead and say that, oh, it's exactly like Mitchell Messenbrink's. It's not, but it mimics it, where he is aggressive, where he pushes the pace, and he's able to wear out his opponents. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get past D. Lockett, who is committed to Oklahoma State. Go figure, another Penn State, Oklahoma State matchup there. You're going to see a lot of those over the next 3 to 5 years and probably further beyond. But that was an intriguing matchup where I felt like if things had gone a little different, Seeley probably wins that one and takes the title. That could be a rematch at the World Team Trials in May between Seeley and D. Lockett of Oklahoma State. So I wasn't, is it disappointing to see him lose, finish with silver when Seeley very well could have won? Yeah, it is. But Seeley, I didn't walk away with any question marks saying that, oh, he's not getting better, he's not moving forward, he's not living up to his potential. Seeley looks as he should for where he is. Like I said, there's just not that clear direction for him. How does he get into the lineup? Well, he'll continue to train alongside Messenbrink and Kasak and now Duke and Haynes. They're all crowded. Those middleweights are very crowded there with talent for Penn State. Cale Sanderson likes having this problem. But these guys elect to do that because Seeley could have transferred out, but he's staying because he wants to train alongside the best of the best. And it doesn't scare other recruits off. William Henckle coming in, and it's very crowded at 174. It's not like he immediately takes over at that spot once Levi Haynes moves on. He has to earn it. I am rambling a bit because I want to talk about there are plenty of others. Jaden James in the U17 class of 2026 commit ends up winning the title and moves on to that best of 3. So Jaden James was able to tech fall his way through the entire tournament to that championship bout and only gave up 3 points. So that's what you need to know about Jaden James in the weekend that he had. Speaking of 2026, Sam Herring came up just a little short with in the championship, ultimately lost to Kyler Larkin. Larkin just found his offensive game in the second period, and I think it was the difference in stature. He didn't really have a response for just how long Larkin was. Larkin he's got a tall frame, he's got long arms, and was just able to continue to get in on shot attempts against Sam Herring. Ultimately lost 10-5, but nothing to bat an eye at, taking silver, and he gets another chance to redeem himself at the World Team Trials. So overall, a successful weekend. Nate Desmond, class of 2025, wrestled at 61 kilos as well. Ended up taking sixth place, took sixth place at the US Open. Dalton Perry did not, unfortunately, get a placement. He had to medically forfeit and did not ultimately place at the tournament. And Brock Weiss, who's in the program, ended up not placing as well. He ended up losing and fell down in the consolation bracket early to another top tier prospect in Colin Rath. So that was everybody that's competed over the course of this weekend. Penn State is in the same spot that it normally is in, with the amount of talent, the up and coming talent, and these wrestlers are going to continue to only make the room better. And was on full display in Las Vegas at the U20 US Open. So the World Team Trials are coming up. We'll talk about that as well. More takeaways from not only the senior level, but the U20 level as well. It's all going to be right here on Locked On Nittany Lions. So again, thank you so much for checking out this episode. Appreciate the support. on the wrestling coverage on the show. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. As always, if you are new, subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts for not only Penn State wrestling coverage, Penn State football coverage, all your favorite Penn State sports teams right here on Locked On Nittany Lions.